Please share the information provided in this video. Always remember that a crucial part of removing a person's confusion is understanding his or her unique source of it. Now, the contemporary church is a confusing question. But I think we kind of all get that it's this idea that we need to sort of update church for like modern times, for now times, contemporary times. Let's look at some data. The Southern Baptist Convention reports a 70% dropout rate in church attendance after age 18. Now the Barna Research Group reports a 59% dropout rate after 18 for Christians in general, not just Southern Baptists, at the same age. The Barna Group calls the 18 to 35-year-olds a black hole in church attendance. This is nothing new, and it's been the trend for decades, since like the 50s. Who knows how, but what is new is that both the Barna Group and the Southern Baptist Convention are finding that this time they aren't returning to church in their 30s. Although some sociologists have criticized the studies, so this is sociology, the study of society in general, it is a generally reported trend. So if you want to find out, who's reporting it the best, you can go to those debates. Overall, the Barna Group claims that if something does not change, then church attendance will drop to half its current size in 10 years. Okay, now that's a serious thing to consider. If something does not change, then church attendance will drop to half its current size in 10 years. So, that would mean that church will not exist as much as it does. If 50% of the people, or the numbers of people that are going to church now don't go, we probably won't be able to keep all the churches open in America that exist today. They just won't, they'll have to close their doors. People will just have to go to the fewer churches because there will be fewer people. And certainly many churches that drop in attendance will have too many buildings and not be able to pay for them, and there'll be kind of a shedding of extra weight. Well, it will be seen as extra weight at that time, but in our time it's not really extra weight. That's a different America. Okay? The larger question would be, why is that happening? So let's look into some more data. Okay, the Pew Forum, which is another research group, a lot of times hired by the U.S. government to do research, they found that people who claim to be atheist, agnostic, or no religion in particular rose to 1 in 3 Americans under 32, which makes this the fastest growing quote-unquote religion, because it's the lack of religion. They're called the nuns, and not the nuns in the Catholic Church type nuns, but like the N-O-N-E nuns. That I got, my religion is none. But it by far the fastest, hugest increase. I think it was a 5% increase in like 10 years, from 98 to 08 overall, but it's much higher in Americans under 32. It's only 20% in Americans in general, but under 32 it's at 33%. Now, in addition to this, the Barna Group found that there were 6 main reasons that people drop out. So let's look at those. Reason number 1, churches seem overprotective, and they said a few of the defining characteristics of today's teens and young adults are their unprecedented access to ideas and worldviews as their prodigious consumption of popular culture. So he's saying a lot, the internet is what that boils down to. iPhones, iPads, mobile devices, everything. You go before 97, not really a reality for anyone. After 97, a lot of people got it. In 99, that's when I remember everyone got it. Today, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Let's keep reading what he has to say. As Christians, they express the desire for their faith in Christ to connect to the world they live in. However, much of their experience of Christianity feels stifling, fear-based, and risk-averse. 1 quarter of 18 to 29-year-olds said Christians demonize everything outside the church. 23% indicated this completely or mostly describes their experience. Other perceptions in this category include church ignoring problems of the real world and my church is too concerned that movies, music, and video games are harmful, 18%. So, reason number 2, teens and 20-somethings experience of Christianity is shallow. A second reason that young people depart from church as young adults is that something is lacking in their experience of church. 1/3 said that church is boring. 1/4 said these young adults said that faith is not relevant to my career or interests, or that the Bible is not taught clearly or often enough, 23%. Sadly, 1/5 of these young adults who attend church as teenagers said that God seemed missing from my experience of church, 20%. Reason number 3, churches come across as antagonistic to science. One of the reasons young adults feel disconnected from church or from faith is the tension they feel between Christianity and science. The most common of the perceptions in this arena is Christians are too confident that they know all the answers, 35%. 3 out of 10 young adults with a Christian background feel that churches are out of step with the scientific world we live in, 29%. Another 1/4 embraced the perception that Christianity is anti-science, 25%, and nearly the same proportion, 23%, said they have been turned off by the creation versus evolution debate. Furthermore, the research shows that many science-minded young Christians are struggling in ways to find ways of staying faithful to their beliefs and their professional calling in science-related industries. So, like, can I be a Christian physicist? Can I be a Christian biologist? Can I be a Christian medical researcher, you know? Let's see, reason number 4. Young Christians' church experience related to sexuality are often simplistic and judgmental. With unfettered access to digital pornography and immersed in a culture that values hypersexuality over wholeness, teen and 20-something Christians are struggling with how to live meaningful lives in terms of sex and sexuality. One of the significant tensions for many young believers is how to live up to the church's expectations of chastity, sexual purity, yada yada. Especially as the age of first marriage is now commonly delayed to the late 20s, research indicates that most young people are as sexually active as their non-Christian peers, even though they are more conservative in their attitudes about sexuality. 1/6 of young Christians, 17%, said they had made mistakes and feel judged in church because of them. The issue of sexuality is particularly salient among 18 to 29-year-old Catholics, among whom 2 out of 5 say the church's teachings on sexuality and birth control are out of date. Reason number 5, they wrestle with the exclusive nature of Christianity. Younger Americans have been shaped by a culture that esteems open-mindedness, tolerance, and acceptance. Today's youth and young adults are the most eclectic generation in American history in terms of race, ethnicity, sexuality, religion, technological tools, and sources of authority. You hear that? Sources of authority. Most young adults want to find areas of common ground with each other, sometimes even if that means glossing over real differences. 3 out of 10 young Christians said churches are afraid of the beliefs of other faiths. An identical proportion said they are forced to choose between my faith and my friends. 1/5 of young adults with a Christian background said church is like a country club only for insiders. And the last reason number 6, the church feels unfriendly to those who doubt. Young adults with Christian experience say the church is not a place that allows them to express doubts. They do not feel safe in admitting that sometimes Christianity does not make sense. In addition, they feel that the church's response to doubt is trivial. The church treats doubt with a trivial response. Some of the perceptions in this regard include not being able to ask my most pressing life questions in church and having significant intellectual doubts about my faith. In a related theme of how churches struggle to help young adults who feel marginalized, about 1 out of every 6 young adults with a Christian background said their faith does not help with depression or other emotional problems they experience. So, all of that, you know, take it all in. The important thing to keep in mind is that there is a shift in culture that's happened. Let's keep looking at the data and we'll see it. The Barna Group also reports that 85% of outsiders, now outsiders are just people who basically don't go to church and don't report having, gotten saved. So they could be Hindu, they could be atheist, they could be someone who, in some cases goes to church, but they don't really report, they just say, I'm a Christian. There's a lot of people who just say, I'm a Christian. Anyway, they report that 85% of outsiders had a favorable impression of Christianity in 1996. That's the cutoff year, because after that the internet kind of hit the scene. Alright? And this was even true in the youngest generations. Today, among those who express an opinion, negative outweighs positive 3-to-1. And the most common positive statement is that Christianity teaches the same basic idea as other religions. Okay? So, kids are leaving church. No religion is the fastest growing thing around. The opinion of the outsiders is becoming overwhelmingly negative, when in the past it was overwhelmingly positive towards the church. Now, the Barna group also found that this growing group of non-religious Americans, those nuns, is mostly church outsiders. A study done by Larry Townton reported that he did find that the most outspoken and leading atheists on college campuses were people who had attended church in general. They had attended church. Maybe they had never, received Christ, so they would be considered an outsider, but they were all people who had been to church, at least the most outspoken. So what this means, when I was in high school, there was a youth ministry, and there were teenagers, and I didn't get to go to youth group a lot, but I had friends who did, and they would share things that they had picked up there. And I remember one of the things was that there was supposedly some conference of the world religions, and every religious group was invited to it, except the evangelical Christians, except the Christians who believe that Jesus is the only way. And I remember my friend Jared and my friend Bob telling me, well, that just proves that Christianity is right, because it's the only one that really gets persecuted like that. And that was it, that was the proof. When I was in high school, before the internet, I didn't have the internet until '99. How would I have fact-checked that statement? I mean, how would I, what would I have to do? Like, go to the library and look through microfilms? There's no search engine. I mean, who would I ask? I'd turn on the TV? Would I call someone? For information like that, I go to friends and family, right? And I even struggled when I was 15, because I had a relative who became an atheist. And I struggled. I would talk with my parents about it. They didn't really have any answers. Talk with my friends about it. They didn't really have any answers. And I go to church, talk to the Sunday school teacher, he didn't have any answers. Talk to the guy doing the youth group thing, he didn't have any answers. But I mean, the point is I went to church for answers because I didn't know where else to go. Today, it's a joke. Like, everybody goes on the internet for everything. Even if they want to find a book where they can read about something, how do they find the book? They go on the internet. The internet is basically the main source of information today, and it's all around us. Okay, so Christianity is on a completely different level. It has to be taken different ways. First of all, there's going to be a need for apologetics, and there's going to be a need for theology. In apologetics, we're going to have to defend the Christian faith. The reality is in small town America, and in America in general, especially down here in the South in the Bible Belt, people grew up and Christianity was all they knew. It was either be a Christian and be good, or be a bad person and go drink and, sleep around, and fight, or go to church and be good. And those were your options. People were Christian because that's just all they'd ever known to be. The only other thing they knew how to be was just bad. Today, there are a variety of views. If you go on the internet, just try it. You're going to find plenty of things, easily. that try to tell you the Bible isn't true. A lot of the time it's just atheist stuff, but there's plenty of access to like other religion stuff too. So what this means is that everybody has all these views and all these differences of opinion on the table, and it's not just the good and the bad, it's a lot of different types of good. You know, because Buddhism says it's good, and Hinduism says it's good, and atheism says it's the one that's got the truth. So Christianity is going to have to defend why it's right. We can't sit back anymore and tell kids to just have faith. They know that's stupid now. Before, you could get away with saying terrible things like that. You know, just have faith. Because now the kids know that Muslims have faith. Look at 9/11, right? Muslims have a lot of faith. You know, just having faith and it will work. You know, you can't be because the Bible says so anymore. You know, because they got a Quran and the Hindus got the Vedas, and you know, everybody's got a thing. You know, and who says any of it's true? You know, because they've got all the atheist stuff too. You'd be surprised how it's changing. And you know, we look at those reasons kids are leaving. They want their deep questions answered. And they're either going to go to church for it or they're going to go to the internet. When I was a kid, I asked those questions, and if no one had the answer, I just didn't get an answer. I just wondered about it. Today, I can get an answer. You know, I can go to the church and they've got an answer for me. And that's a big difference from the way things were when I was a kid. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Today, I can go to the internet. So if the church is going to continue to be relevant, it's going to have answers to compete with the internet. Not that when we want to destroy the internet, but that is the level on which the kids have access. You have to be that good. You have to be up to the level that the internet's at, you know, for them. If they can go and find someone who's thought about this on the internet, then why are they going to listen to the guy at church who has never given it any thought? Why would they? Okay? The next issue is the church today. I don't know if you picked up on it and all that. It's not really seen as a place that's going to cut into your fun. It's seen as a bad thing. You know, outsiders report it as negative. And, you know, that negative stuff, it's a big deal. Let's see, let's go back. It's overprotective, it's unfriendly to doubt, it's unfriendly to thought, it's exclusive, it's repulsive, you know, it's antagonistic to science, it's shallow. You get it. Let's see if we can bring this up for you. Well, I won't. But one of the things the contemporary church does is there's an attempt to sort of rebrand church and kind of change everything you can about it to kind of give it a new image. Just say, this is not the same old thing. Because if you go back 50 years ago, then it was either be church and be good, or it was be a bad person. But today, there's more than one option where you can still feel like you're a good person. You know, these kids have 1 in 3 of their friends is an atheist, agnostic, or no religion in particular. And those aren't seen as evil people who just want to live for the world. A lot of times, those are fine, upstanding, moral people. So the church doesn't have to sell itself as fun anymore. The church is not the place, you know, where that cuts the fun out of your life and makes you good. That's not the issue anymore. The issue is the church is evil. It's seen as a negative influence. You know, it's just a social club for people to feel like they're better than everybody else, for arrogant people who think they know everything, who haven't really thought about anything, who think science is stupid, who don't really understand, who won't take your serious questions seriously, and just trivialize you, you know, a country club, you know, of hypocrites. And people say, I want to get out of church because church is a bad place for me to be. That I need to get that out of my life. That's going to corrupt me, mess me up. So the church has to kind of rebrand itself and say, no, we're not here to corrupt you. And also, we have to make it clear, why in the world we go, because people have to have a reason for even going to the meeting anymore. Before, you went to the meeting because church was where you got your life right, because you've been a bad person, you go to church and you get your life right. You become a good person. But today, people don't see church or even Christianity as necessarily needed for being a good person. And even if they believe in Jesus, they're like, what does church have to do with me being a good person? So that is something that has to be made really clear today too. What is the point of going to the meetings? Why do the meetings matter? And the final question that needs to be dealt with is the issue of selfishness in music. Because music has changed basically since the invention of the radio and the record. And as the technology got better, music and the art forms progressed in popular music from little catchy sing-along songs. And they were usually, the old songs, the little pop songs, they were little sing-along songs. You play a piano, you play a banjo, but you could sing them all day too while you work. And they were usually like dirty songs. They had raunchy, sexual, nasty things in them. But people thought they were funny, they would sing them. And so the church created these hymns to kind of break into that world with like Christian songs of little catchy sing-along hymns. But music changed. Like in the 50s, Hank Williams he's got, supposedly the first 4-piece band with a guitar and a bass and a fiddle and a drum. So music got more complicated, and popular music became a high art form. And it got more layers, it got more going on, like the way classical music had always been. But this was coming from the popular level with more thought going into it. And music got different. And a lot of people don't like the old music at church. And a lot of people don't like the new type of Christian music. And so there is a distinction that has to be made. Are we wanting to change the music in church for our own personal selfishness because we don't enjoy X and we think we'll enjoy Y better? So you've got the contemporary people who are selfish for their style, and you've got the traditional people who are selfish for their style. And that is sort of a problem. Is this for selfish reasons or is this for good reasons? Well, why in the world would you change music? Well, duh, wouldn't you want to make, the best music you can? There's never really anything wrong with that. But it can be motivated by evil reasons. Think about Martin Luther. Here was a guy who had a church that was teaching that if you paid money to them, that would be the only way you could be assured of a place in heaven. And that was the Christian church at the time, basically, and the powerful church. You paid money to them and you'd be assured of a place in heaven. And he comes out and becomes like the head guy preaching against that. He winds up becoming like basically the most powerful guy in Germany. And immensely famous. He wrote basically the first best-selling book ever because the printing press had just been invented. But did he do that for power? Or did he do that to dispel the corrupt ideas? Time will tell. Are you trying to make good music because you just believe in good music and making good music and you want other people to enjoy it? Then that's fine. Are you doing it for the power and the money? That's not okay. That's a problem in music since forever and ever. Is this artist in it for the power or for the money or for the greed or something he or she enjoys? Or are you just trying to, make it easier for people to worship God and help them and just provide them with, the best music you can and, and just do the best job you can? What it boils down to is this book. This is the Bible. This is a Bible I found in someone's trash. It's a King James, but it's got commandments in it. If we actually followed those commandments, it would be contemporary, schmemporary, traditional schmaditional. You know, not that making church the best it can be is a bad thing, but I think sometimes people in ministry get really frustrated because all they do is run ministry, and they never really get to go live the Christian life out in the world because they're too busy making church services for church people. And the Christian life is more than just going to church and having church. You know, that's just your refresher. When then you go out and you have to go to work and you spend time with your family and you have your own prayer time and Bible time, and that's the rest of your life, you know. And it's up to us as Christians, if we're going to really live like Christ, and if we really follow His ideals of loving people before they even think about loving us, even when they're mean to us, you would have to meet outside every week. Attendance would be high. So anyway, I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. Thank you for your time.